the quiet of the night, when the cold winds blow, there's a truth in the dark where the secrets go. Every whisper, every crime, unraveled one clue at a time. What's hiding in the past? What's lurking down below? Only the shadows know.
Have you ever wondered what makes a serial killer tick? Is it nature, nurture, or something else entirely? For decades, we've been captivated and horrified by these individuals. But science is finally beginning to peel back the layers of their minds, revealing that the answer might lie deep within the structure of their brains. It's a journey into the darkest corners of neuroscience, and what we're finding is both fascinating and unsettling. Today, we're going to explore the scientific reports that suggest the brain of a serial killer is fundamentally different from the average person's. We'll look at the specific regions that show abnormalities, what those differences mean for behavior, and whether this knowledge could one day help us prevent such tragedies. This isn't about excusing their actions, but about understanding the biological factors that might contribute to them. So, buckle up, because we're about to dive into the mind of a killer. Let's start with a key area of the brain, the prefrontal cortex. This is our brain's CEO, located right behind our forehead. It's responsible for things like decision-making, planning, social behavior, and impulse control. Essentially, it's the part of our brain that tells us, hey, maybe punching your boss is a bad idea. It helps us weigh the consequences of our actions and regulate our emotions. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Numerous brain scans, including fMRI and PET scans, of convicted psychopathic killers have shown reduced activity and even less gray matter in the prefrontal cortex. Specifically, two subregions are often implicated: the orbital-frontal cortex, which is linked to ethical behavior and decision-making, and the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, which is crucial for empathy and guilt. When these areas aren't functioning properly, it's like a car driving without brakes. The ability to feel for others, to understand social cues, and to control aggressive impulses can be severely impaired. This might explain the cold, calculated, and remorseless nature we often see in serial killers. They may intellectually understand that what they're doing is wrong by society standards, but they don't feel it. The emotional feedback loop that stops most of us from causing harm is broken, but the prefrontal cortex doesn't work in isolation. It's part of a larger network, and another crucial piece of the puzzle is the limbic system. This is the more primitive emotional center of our brain. It includes structures like the amygdala, the hippocampus, and the insula. The amygdala, in particular, is our fear and aggression center. It processes threats and triggers our fight-or-flight response. In a typical brain, the prefrontal cortex acts as a regulator for the amygdala. The amygdala might scream threat, attack, but the prefrontal cortex steps in and says, hold on, let's assess the situation calmly. In the brains of many studied killers, this connection is weak. It's like the CEO is on vacation and the hot-headed intern, the amygdala, is left in charge. Studies have shown that psychopaths can have a smaller or underactive amygdala. This might seem counterintuitive. Wouldn't a more aggressive amygdala make sense? Not necessarily. An underactive amygdala can lead to a lack of fear. This fearlessness can manifest in thrill-seeking, a disregard for danger, and an inability to learn from punishment. When you combine a lack of fear with poor impulse control, you have a recipe for extremely dangerous behavior. They don't fear getting caught, and they don't fear the consequences of their actions, which allows them to take risks that most of us would never even consider. Another fascinating area is the insular cortex, or insula. This brain region is involved in our awareness of our own body's feelings and plays a massive role in our ability to experience empathy. When you see someone get hurt and you flinch, that's your insula and your mirror neurons at work, simulating their pain in your own brain. In psychopaths, the insula often shows reduced activity, especially when they are shown images of others in distress. They see it, but they don't feel it. This emotional detachment is a hallmark trait, allowing them to inflict unimaginable suffering without batting an eye. So, we have a faulty CEO in the prefrontal cortex, a reckless intern in the amygdala, and a broken empathy monitor in the insula. This triad of trouble creates a brain that is wired differently for morality, empathy, and self-control. But this raises a huge question. Are people born this way? Is there a killer gene? The answer is complex. Genetics certainly play a role. For example, the MAOA gene, sometimes controversially dubbed the warrior gene, has been linked to aggressive behavior. This gene helps break down neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which regulate mood. A low-activity variant of this gene can lead to higher levels of these chemicals, potentially increasing the likelihood of aggression when provoked. However, genes are not destiny. This is where the nurture part of the equation comes in. Many scientific reports emphasize that these genetic predispositions often only manifest in the presence of severe environmental triggers, especially childhood trauma. A child with a low-activity MAOA gene who grows up in a loving, stable home is very unlikely to become violent. But take that same child and place them in an environment of abuse, neglect, and violence, and the story can change dramatically. The brain is incredibly plastic, especially during childhood. Chronic stress and trauma can literally damage the developing brain, further weakening the prefrontal cortex and heightening the reactivity of the limbic system. Okay? So, it's not a simple case of nature versus nurture. It's a devastating interaction between the two. A genetic vulnerability, when combined with a traumatic upbringing, can create a perfect storm that leads to the development of a psychopathic personality. This is a critical point. Understanding the neuroscience doesn't mean we are making excuses. It means we are looking for root causes. Think of it like heart disease. We know that genetics can predispose someone to heart problems, but we also know that diet, exercise, and stress play a huge role. By understanding all the factors, we can develop better prevention and treatment strategies. The same logic applies here. If we can identify children who have these biological risk factors and are living in higher risk environments, we can intervene. Early intervention programs that provide support, therapy, and a stable environment could potentially help rewire these developing brains, strengthening the connections between the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system could help teach empathy and impulse control before it's too late. Of course, this raises some heavy ethical questions. We can't start scanning children's brains and labeling them as pre-criminals. That's the stuff of dystopian sci-fi movies. But we can use this knowledge to advocate for better child protective services, mental health support in schools, and resources for families struggling with violence and instability. Preventing the trauma in the first place is the most powerful tool we have. It's also important to remember that not every person with psychopathic traits becomes a serial killer. In fact, many don't. Some may become ruthless CEOs, cutthroat politicians, or high-stakes surgeons' professions, where a lack of fear and a detached emotional state can actually be advantageous. The difference between a successful psychopath and a criminal one might lie in other factors, tonality, and the specific nature of their upbringing. So, to recap, the brain of a serial killer often displays a pattern of dysfunction. Reduced activity in the prefrontal cortex leads to poor decision-making and a lack of guilt. An abnormal amygdala contributes to fearlessness and a blunted emotional response. And a faulty insula blocks the capacity for true empathy. This biological blueprint is often laid down by genetics, but is tragically activated and sculpted by severe childhood trauma. The science is clear. These individuals are not just evil in some abstract moral sense. They are often products of a damaged brain, a broken biology that prevents them from connecting with humanity in the way most of us do. This is a chilling thought, but it's also a hopeful one. It shifts the conversation from one of pure punishment to one that includes the possibility of prevention. By tackling the root causes, the trauma and neglect that damage young brains we may one day be able to stop distant tragedies before they even begin. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the neuroscience of the darkest human behaviors. It's a complex and often uncomfortable topic, but understanding it is the first step toward creating a safer world. If you found this video interesting, please hit that like button. Subscribe for more content that explores the fascinating world of science and the human mind. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.
In the quiet of the night, when the cold winds blow, there's a truth in the dark where the secrets go. Every whisper, every crime, unraveled one clue at a time. What's hiding
In the quiet of the night when the cold winds blow, there's a truth in the dark where the secrets go.
every whisper, every crime, unraveled one clue at a time. What's hiding in the past? What's lurking down below?
Only the shadows know.
In the quiet of the night, when the cold winds blow, there's a truth in the dark where the secrets go. Every whisper, every crime, unraveled one clue at a time. What's hiding in the past? What's lurking down below?
Only the shadows